If there was no migration or invasion by Aryans, what could be the reason behind the decline of the Harappan civilization? This is a good question. Uh, so, like I said, it's closely tied to what happened to the Saraswati. So, the Saraswati dried out over several thousand years because of the monotonal decline of the Indian monsoon over several thousand years. The Indian monsoon was at its peak around 6000 BC, which is about 8000 years before today. And it started declining gradually over hundreds and thousands of years. And by 1500 BC, it had declined so much that the entire great river, Saraswati, dried out. It became seasonal and intermittent only in the north of India, where it still exists to some extent. But the great river dried out. And so it is an example of ancient climate change. So, because of this climate change, because of the conditions changed so much, the lifestyle that these our ancient ancestors had in this region became unsustainable. And there are thousands of ancient archaeological sites, cities, towns, villages on the banks of this dry riverbed of the Saraswati, because and this river sustained these towns, villages, and cities. And because the river dried out, this was no longer sustainable. And the same thing happened in other places also. Climate change, the whole lifestyle was no longer sustainable, and therefore slowly over centuries, people migrated out of this region and went elsewhere. This coincides with the discovery of Indian genetics in Australia about four and a half thousand years ago. Precisely coincides with that. This also coincides with the Yamnaya invasion of Europe. So this change made it necessary for Indians of that region to migrate in different directions. Some of them seem to have gone westwards on a rampage across Europe. Some of them seem to have migrated by sea all the way to Australia. And the majority of the population went eastwards into the Ganga Yamuna plain and other parts of India. So this was a very gradual dispersal of the population of this region into other parts of the neighboring region. Some even went into Iran. There is this ancient Marhashi kingdom. We know that the king Rimush of Babylonia, of Mesopotamia, actually fought with the people of the Indus Valley region, and so on. So there are data points available of Indians migrating east, west, and other places as well. So that's what happened. So that is the reason for the decline, for the apparent decline of the Harappan phase of India's civilization. It is not a separate civilization. It is one of the phases of India's history, the so-called Harappan phase. But that civilization never disappeared. It still exists. It is India. The same culture exists in India. We can find evidence of the same culture 5,000 years ago in the Sapta Sindhu region, in the Indus Valley region, the Saraswati Valley region, and other rivers of that region. So the civilization did not decline and disappear. It continues. It moved elsewhere to other parts of the country and other parts of the geography of the subcontinent, and also other places of the other parts of the world. So that's what really happened, and the cause is climate change.